Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready. And today we thought we'd talk about something a little bit more practical when it comes to battles in the mortal realms. And that's how do you make the time to do it?
Play it on weekends.
Play it on weekends.
Don't expect to do it every day.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to playing Warhammer, Age of Sigmar is amazing. Really, really enjoy it. We've played like 83, 85 games now.
But it takes like 3 hours sometimes.
It does. It takes several hours, and especially if...
And you get really hungry doing it.
Drake does get hungry. But especially if you're going to make up a battlefield, right? So part of the time you need to set aside is getting your terrain ready.
Unless you don't play with terrain.
So all the setup, all the takedown, right? Then getting your armies out and ready, especially if you're going to play a 2,000-point game. That can be a lot of models, right?
With soul blood.
And again, set up and take down as part of that. And then the game itself is...
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, between 2 and 3. 2 and 3. You can, if it ends a little early, you figure out who's going to win in the third or fourth battle round. It's closer to 2. If you play all 5 battle rounds, it's closer to 3.
4 sometimes. If it's going on.
I don't think we've ever had one that long since 3.0 started. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they can be long. So it's not the kind of game that you get home from work on a Tuesday night and you just decide, let's play it.
No.
Right? It can be hard. And for a lot of people, I mean, Drake and I are lucky because we live in the same house. So if we want to play, our Warhammer partner is right there, right? But how do you get games in if you don't have that advantage? And how do you get games in when you've got a ton of, you have to set aside a long stretch of time?
The mystical thing called a calendar.
A calendar. Well, I think that's important. I think that's the number one thing, is because it's not something you can do very easily, spontaneously, you need to plan it.
Yeah.
Now, for Drake and I, we plan to do it every weekend, often on Sundays. We try to do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
But, sometimes other things are on Saturday, so we do it on Sunday. So it's important to set aside the time. Now, maybe you and your significant other play Age of Sigmar, or maybe you've got kids that play. Yeah. And so it's easy to sort of pick a time. And if you don't have that, then you need to, find a local club, game store, right? Lots of times you can go to the local game store and
not the club that you swing.
Not a swinging club, not a troll club, not a Troggoth club.
Unless you can pick up the entire building and throw it.
Well, maybe you'll be strong enough to do that one day.
Now that's a club.
Keep lifting.
No, there's no way.
But you have to find the group and make it at least semi-regular so that okay, on Thursdays, on Saturdays, on Tuesday, whatever day it is, that's what I do that week, is I set that time aside to go play Warhammer at the local store, or to go to my friend's house and we play in his basement, or have people over and they play over here.
That sounds cold.
Just depends on the time of year.
Basements sound cold.
Some places they have really good basements and they're heated and everything.
Heated basements.
But we don't have one here.
We don't even have a basement. We have an attic.
We don't even really have an attic.
We have a tiny attic.
So, but making the plan ahead of time and saying, all right, I'm carving out this space of time. Because if you're just buying models and hoping that, a game is going to show up, you're going to be disappointed a lot. That's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
What was your other tip?
Look at each other's calendars.
Look at each other. Yeah, you do need a friend. You do need a friend to do it.
Unless you're playing it against yourself.
I think the other thing to do when it comes to getting games in is you got to make sure you have a partner, and you want to have one that's sort of dedicated. So I've been involved in board games. I love board games. I have a million of them. And there's a board game called Earth Reborn that really straddles the line, but is a little bit more towards a skirmish style game than it is to
it's like Kill Team-ish.
It's Kill Team-ish, but it's a lot more involved than Kill Team is, which is both a positive and a negative. But it is difficult to learn, and because it's a 2-player game, it was very hard for me to get anybody involved that would play it. So finally I found a friend who was really interested in learning it, and then we're just like, all right, every Saturday we're gonna get together and we're just gonna play Earth Reborn, and that's how we're gonna do this thing. especially because once you do the intros that sort of teach you the game, those games are like 3 to 4 hours long usually, including setup and teardown. They were long. So you need to find that dedicated person, and you need to set aside the time. Now, what else? What else helps getting the games played? Well, I'll tell you one thing that helps.
I know one.
Oh, what?
Making sure your kids aren't interrupting every 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, to the parents out there, you want to make sure you've got adequate child supervision.
AKA screens.
But I think that one of the things that is important is not just having a person and setting aside the time, but also for a lot of people, if you want to get into this, if you've got an army, it might be that you've got a friend who's sort of interested.
Yeah.
Or you meet somebody at a club who's sort of interested, but they don't have an army. They don't have an army. So
you get 1,000 points, I get 1,000 points.
Yeah. You might say, all right, you might need to have a second army, right? And you might need to teach them, which means starting at lower point values, which I think is good.
Let's just hope it's not noble versus noble.
But I think that what you're going to do is you need to have enough stuff. So if you want to teach somebody and sort of get them involved, you need to say, hey, come to my house, come to my basement, come to my attic, right?
Come to my cellar.
And say, look, I have all the terrain. I've got an army for you. I've got an army for me, and we're going to play. And sometimes that is required. If you think, all I need to do is get one army painted up, or even not painted up, right? I'm just going to play it gray. But I'm just going to get one army, and that's going to be enough. That's going to be enough for some things. If you play at the local club or whatever, I mean, a lot of people are going to be cool with that. But if that's not an option for you, or that doesn't fit into your schedule for whatever reason, and you're looking for alternates, having that second army that somebody can jump in with and just sort of pick up and play is going to be way better at getting you games than not. Mm-hmm. Other thoughts?
Make sure you have calendars on standby.
Always the calendars with you. But
calendars!
That is the biggest point, really, is just making sure it's scheduled. If you
buy extra calendars.
Like if you play a sport, right? And your baseball practice is
at 7:30
Friday nights.
At
yeah.
70, and at 7:30
so
7:30 p.m.
Every Friday night, you know what you're doing. You're going to baseball practice. And Warhammer, if you want to play it regularly, sort of has to be the same way.
Yeah, just not Friday.
Where you have a little carve out on your time saying, all right, this is when I'm doing this thing.
More like this much of a carve out.
But, yeah, it's because it's long. But the other thing that's important to remember is, is Age of Sigmar the only important, well, it's not even important. Is it the only thing in the world?
No.
Is it the most important thing in the world?
No.
So you also have to have that flexibility, right? If you go down to the club every Friday night to play Age of Sigmar and you're having a blast, and then one week you get a call and it's your mother's birthday, I would expect that you don't play Age of Sigmar that week, right?
Yeah.
Or you call somebody else up and say, hey, I can't make it on Friday. Any chance you could come over on Tuesday and we can play? Whatever it is. But you make other arrangements. So just because you have a calendar, that's going to help, but other life stuff's important too, more important. Final thoughts?
You gotta raid some stores for those calendars.
Yeah, gotta raid the calendars.
Calendars!
When I was young, every January in the mall, there used to be a calendar store where they would have all different kinds of calendars. You get calendars with like Garfield on them, or you get little calendars, little one-a-days or little things, and they would show up for like a month or two, and then they'd be gone until the next year. And now everybody has a calendar on their phone or on their, on the internet or whatever. So it's very rare to find those kinds of calendars anymore. Just old person thoughts, old person stories, I guess.
You're not old, you're only 39.
Well, okay. I'm glad you think I'm not old. Okay,
when you're 40,
but anyway,
you're old.
I think that's there's no secret magic trick. There's no one weird trick that gets you playing Age of Sigmar every night.
There's no cheesing way. There's no way to cheese it.
It's a long game.
Unless you have a time machine.
And you need to make sure that you have the options. And the best way to do that is to schedule it. Make sure you have an opponent that's also willing to schedule that same time with you.
Could you ever lose AOS if you had a time machine? Because at the end we always say, if you had done yada yada yada, you might have won. So you could do yada yada yada.
You just came back and nudged your gun and said, hey, don't move in there because you're going to get killed. So I think that would help you.
Yeah.
But what if you kept rolling ones? You could have all the perfectest strategy in the world.
Well, I mean, if it's a time machine, it's going to do this. You're going to roll the same rolls you did last time.
No, because once you've told people, now they might be thinking different. So they might shake the dice one extra time and that changes the rolls. So yeah, you never know. So anyway, this has been another episode of Battle Ready, and thank you so much for watching.
Ready for battle.